Hi everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com and I'm back with another channeled celebrity video. And I want to throw my hands up in the air and tap dance across the room and applaud everybody and have them applaud me because I am her. I've been feeling her all day. And in fact, I was skipping down the trail this morning after the bear incident, which I wonder if she brought the bear to me because anyway, it got me down a lot quicker. But this woman has been in my energy space for quite some time. And I heard this morning, it's about time you do me. In fact, she was so pissed that I wasn't doing her. She is strong, she is fierce, she is determined, and quite the opposite of how she was portrayed when she was alive, okay? Quite the opposite. And I'm speaking about her. I'm still going to go on. I'm going to describe what I see with her. The essence of her personality is so interesting. She gets what happened to her now, and I don't think she understood when she was on this side in her body as that celebrity that she was. And she didn't start off as a celebrity. She was a little girl that was born, and she's like, I was born to do this. I just knew that this was what I was to do. I wanted to communicate, and the way that I could communicate was through my voice, through singing. So of course, I'm looking at her chart, and I'm going to tell you about it in a sec, but I'm looking for stuff in Taurus. I'm looking for the singing signs, but I was quite surprised to see that she had this other drive that was from a past life, very specifically directed in this life, so that she could sing and dance. There was so much tragedy around her that it was hard to believe that she could even function. But when she performed, I'm literally seeing her being able to elevate her soul, the greatest joy. Like if people could find that kind of joy in their life with what they do, oh my God, we'd all be winners, right? But her personal life and her family life and everything about her was just completely blown out of proportion, dramatic and insane. And by the way, part of it was her fault and part of it wasn't. But anyway, who am I talking about? Who am I talking about? She wants me to like be really grand gestures, speak up, speak loudly. I keep hearing this over here. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, so first of all, very firstly, she is a Gemini. We're talking June 10th, 1922, and I'm talking about the fabulous Judy Garland. Fabulous. She made me say it twice. She wants to get her point across because, I mean, we think she's fabulous. I'll speak for myself. She did The Wizard of Oz. She started in movies. She was the ultimate child star. And by the way, like child sacrifice through her stardom, okay? Through her acting, through everything about her. Child star who gave up everything, including her own mind. Her mind is very strong right now, and she is not frail, she is not fragile, and she is not weak. Not weak, she says. She certainly isn't because she constantly like kind of chatters in the side of my head. She was born June 10th, 1922. Gemini sun. Now, any of you that have Geminis in your family, I have my rascal as a Gemini. They are full of different personalities for every different occasion. They don't even have to change their makeup or their shirts. They just kind of show up and you're like, who the hell is that? Like you were so nice yesterday and suddenly you're acting like this and then suddenly you're happy and suddenly you're business and suddenly you're stupid. Whatever. Gemini has a personality for every occasion. Don't get mad at me, Geminis, but Judy was no different. Now, here's where I found really particular to her singing ability. Okay, so she has a Gemini sun and she was a Cancer rising. That was her complete need to be loved. I want you guys to understand something. Any entertainer, person in your life with a Cancer rising feels abandoned and rejected. The more Cancer in the chart, the more that this is prominent. And Judy was no different. She was a human being with this big voice and this phenomenal personality. Do you know she was 4'10"? Literally 4'10". As I see her over here though, she is luminescent in her appearance. And I'm not sure if she's come back several times since she died because I believe she died in 1969. So, I mean, she died like a long time ago. I don't know if she's come back and been gone, but right now she stands here as Judy Garland and she doesn't strike me as that little. Imagine that little teeny tiny body. I'm not supposed to say that. That little teeny tiny body and that big booming voice that just commanded everything. She talks about being here to communicate, very important. And I do find in these times, and she's saying it too, actually, weirdly, she's been observing, she's been with me all week and I have not had a chance to do the video. So she's been hearing my readings with people and my clients, really seriously sitting at my kitchen table while I'm talking to people, which sounds really bizarre. I will often have a lineup of people at my kitchen table and I try to ignore them, walk around them, and then I'll notice that someone's turned the light off or somebody shut the curtain and I'm like, really? But they do this to distract me, to make me, it's almost like they're all like, here, pick me. But she really, really has a place throughout history for her communication style. And I was looking to see where the singing came from in her chart, because I was like, and again, I'm looking at the chart briefly, okay, because I'm doing this psychically, channeling it. But I was looking, and I'm looking for the usual telltale voice signs of Taurus or Libra or something. Well, she has a 12th house Pluto conjunct Mercury, which is retrograde, which means in a past life, conjunct the sun. Well, I don't even know if it was conjunct the sun. Scratch that for a second. I'm not sure by degree, but the sun was right there hitting the 12th house cusp. Mercury was next to it, retrograde. And then we have Pluto. That would be a past life gift. Keep in mind, Pluto is going to make us rip our guts out to communicate. Just look at it that way, right? This is all in the communication style. And then we have that Cancer ascendant. And then we have that really, 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 no offense, batshit crazy, don't yell at me, okay? Sagittarius moon. Oh my God, I love Sagittariuses. But a Sagittarius moon is like a wild whatever running through the city going, I don't care. I'm going to do this. Let's try it. Let's jump out the window. We'll see what happens. I mean, they have no way to rein it in. So you've got the Gemini and the Sag, right? You got all this mutable stuff going on here. And then you've got the Cancer ascendant, which feels abandoned and lonely and everything. And now she wants me to be serious. I'm pulling the energy in here. Okay. So, the first thing I get with her is I'm asking about her childhood, because there were so many stories about her being on drugs, this and that. And of course she died of drugs, right? What I'm seeing with her, and I want to be really clear, her mother was given a lot of credit for fostering her career. And she's saying it was her dad that got her the work. And she's kind of snickering under the back of her. She's snickering because she's saying her dad got her the work, period. And you know how he did it. Her dad got her the work and you know how he did it. So she's saying basically her dad pimped himself out to get her the work. That's kind of what she's saying. She's using a more graphic turn over here. And she's showing me the family dynamic. The father, now we know that her father was gay, and this would explain the family patterning throughout their entire family. Look at Liza Minnelli's choice in husbands. Who marries that many gay men? Like, what? Anyway, it's family patterning, right? So Judy got used to being raised by, it wasn't Liza, it was actually Judy. She married several gay men, but I think she married them for companionships. And then Liza learned from her mother and married that one really, really obviously flamboyantly gay man, and I can't think of his name. Anyhow, long, boring story short over here, and it's not boring actually, but she's saying the essence of her father was carried, they came through together into this life, so the karmic connection was with her father. The mother had a piece in it, but she came through for her father's energy, okay? So she came through to be connected with her father. This was a past life thing, and it was, this is going to sound really weird because she loved performing. I want you to hear that. That's what she's saying. She absolutely loved being who she was, Judy Garland, what she was doing. But she is saying to me, literally, like she was held hostage in this life by her desire to complete that goal from a past life. This was a life of slavery for her, even though she loved it. That's what she's saying, okay? So she's saying she was encapsulated in a past life, almost like she was claimed to do this. Now, she is attributing a lot of what happened to her father to her mother. Sounds weird. She is saying that when her father died, her mother knew full well that that was going to happen and that that was part of it. So she's basically talking about her father selling himself for sex or whatever. She's saying that. She's saying my father got me started. Not her mother, her father. Now, I think the mother probably took an interest in the kid, but she's saying she was born to be Judy Garland, which is true. She was born to be Judy Garland because she was Judy Garland. But she's saying that she literally was pulled into this lifetime to be this communication slave, I guess, through the music is what she's saying. So she's acknowledging her talent and her power and her stance in life, but she's also saying, I was pushed into this life from the other side. The first time I've heard this one. She was pushed into this life. Her father and mother came through, but she was pushed, kicking and screaming is what she's saying. Kicking and screaming. She's so dramatic. Literally did not want to be born. Did not want to, but the parents wanted her to be born. But yet there was discrepancy over that too. But she was pulled in energetically. Sometimes I'm under the impression that we are born into a lifetime. Now there's karma, there's choices, we have free will, but how much of it is really free will if we are in somebody else's story and they claim us to their story, and then we're born here and we're living this life, and then suddenly here we are with this person doing that, and we're like, wait, whoa, back it up. She is saying that she was pushed into this life, okay? And she was Judy Garland. Now, once she got here, she was like, I'm going to take control of this shit. That's that Pluto in the 12th coming down over the ascendant by progression. Would definitely make her one strong ass force to be reckoned with at 4'10". The girl was 4'10". I can't get over that. Anyway, she is saying that her father basically brokered a deal sexually for her to get into the industry. So she could sing and they could recognize her talent. Who could not recognize that girl's talent, that woman's talent? It was phenomenal. And there was nowhere she could go where she couldn't sing. And I'll tell you something truthfully, The Wizard of Oz was a great movie. I mean, actually, it's such a great movie. She's kind of talking about that. At the end, she hated that. I am hearing her scream. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's almost like I'm going in. Okay, I'll try to explain it to you. You know those old director megaphones where people have the megaphones and they stick out of your mouth? And they used to call on the set, like, stop the set, whatever. And it was just like that thing. And now they get the electric ones. But it's that. It's like my ears going through a megaphone like that, but to the other side. And I'm seeing her stand there and she's just like, I'm not going to sing that fucking song anymore. And she's getting mad. I'm laughing because I find this hysterical. And she was typecast in that. And it's not something she wanted to be typecast in. And she was grateful for it, but she couldn't really get away from it. And it drove her crazy is what she's saying. Now, one thing about Cancer rising, oh my God, okay? In the midst of you ignoring them and rejecting them and abandoning them in their opinion, they will fucking torture you. Like, they will torture you with emotional head games and silences and manipulations and hiding in the closet and crying and trying to hurt themselves and cutting. She is showing me she was a cutter, by the way. I've never heard that about her, but when I say cutting, she's acknowledging this. She had so many idiosyncrasies that were set into motion. She felt responsible for her father's death. The mother, okay, this is going to sound weird. The mother, here's what I'm getting. The father brokered the deal for her to go out and be an actress, for them to even look at her. They should have been looking at her. Her talent was outstanding. However, they would have never known her unless the father brokered the deal. No matter how outstanding she was, they have a quid pro quo, pay for play kind of thing. That's Hollywood. That was that way back then. Anyway, her mother was the one that set up the brokering deal. So when they talk about the mother not knowing the dad was gay and this and that, that's all a crock of shit. That's a crock of shit. That's what she's saying. She made amends with her mother, but she puts her hands up like this, like it's not going to happen. I'm going to say something really weird in a past life, but Judy's mother in this life, I mean, the life that she lived a long time ago, her mother was actually somebody that owned her in a past life. I'll say she was either a servant girl or something along these lines. And both parents were party to that, and both parents pulled her into this life. She was set up as a mark. So she picked a chart to come through to try and free herself through the communication, which stifled her energy and basically killed her because, of course, she was on all these drugs. Her mother definitely put them all on drugs. It was the mother that did that. The mother was like, you're just going to work, good little soldier work. I'm sorry. She's making me laugh. I'm having such a fun time. She's been bugging me. She's been bugging me, you guys. You go, when are you going to do another video? I got her every day. When are you going to do another video? Why isn't it me? And I'm like, I've got to feel it. Well, she definitely popped in today and I felt it. Anyway, her mother was the one that was responsible for putting a little bit of stuff in her oatmeal, a little bit of stuff in her coffee. What the hell is a kid drinking coffee for? Anyway, that's where I'm seeing that go. And she loved to perform. There was a sense of being out of body when she performed and recognizing, okay, they call it, I'm going to word it this way. They call it the zone. Like when you know that you're in a space that's so elevated, like you are happy. She was in the zone when she was singing, literally in the zone. Unfortunately for her, from what she says, her life around her was so not in the zone that the spaces between the zone were far and few in between, and the drugs took over, which we know. But this is interesting because she's talking about her father constantly being with other men for business deals around town. That still goes on a lot here. That goes on a lot in Hollywood. If there's any gay guy, straight guy in Hollywood, let me know. Oh, don't get mad at me. You know it's true, y'all. Sorry. She's saying it. I'm saying it, but she's saying it. But anyway, she's saying that her dad did a lot of this work for her to keep climbing the ladder. And her mother was, like, she shows me the dynamic. The dad was soft-spoken and nice and strong, okay, strong, but kind. The mother was kind at times if you did what she wanted and you did it the way that she wanted it to, that she wanted you to do it. And the mother whipped the dad is what she's saying. The mother, like, you know, with a horse whipped the dad. She's showing me that actually. So she thought her mother was a little bit aggressive in that way. And her mother always asked her to forgive her for what she did when she saw how broken Judy was at the end of her life, kind of like towards the end of Judy's life. This came into her thinking. But Judy, now listen to this one. She's like, I was going to get even and I was going to do it my way. She did it her way. She is showing me that when she passed, I'm sorry, she's making me laugh. She's saying that okay, this is not funny, but it is. The level of child abuse that she saw each of her kids differently, and it depended on what day it was and what she was doing and if she'd eaten. She had this eating thing as she's talking about. So there was something that she was doing. Okay, of course, they probably told her she gained too much weight, and I think I read that somewhere, but they do that to everybody, right? Like, as if these fucking people, please people, who are you to judge anybody? Look at yourself in the mirror. This is what I would tell these people. Do you have a mirror? Pull your mirror out and take a good look at yourself before you open your mouth over here. Because most of us are just average people, and y'all are average people, if not whatever kind of people at the networks. Like, I mean, really, we're going to judge you. You're going to judge this person. Like, who are you? It's like cattle raising and marking. I don't know. She's kind of making me feel this way. She had a thing with cutting, she's showing me, and she's showing me laxatives. So she was constantly taking laxatives. She had trouble going to the bathroom all the time. She was taking laxatives, probably trying to lose weight, or that's a form of bulimia, but she was doing it like that. She was also very much a cutter, and she would secretly cut. And I don't know who knows this, but I'm actually seeing, I've never read that. I've never heard that, but she was cutting like this. And I'm also seeing with Judy, she reckoned with herself, because I don't think one side of her knew the other side. Now, the Sag moon is going to do crazy shit. It's going to get on a plane and go marry some stranger, you know, whatever. Did she have 7 marriages or something? And half of them were to gay men. What is that? Do you know what that is? Family patterning. okay, from the father being gay. So your first male reference, just like if you marry an alcoholic or a drug dealer or a wife beater, you can pretty much be assured you were looking at that in the house till you deal with your own issues. She didn't deal with those, so she married manipulative men, aggressive men, men that used her for her talent because she was in servitude in this life. She's definitely showing me that she didn't want to come through and be born, but if she was going to come through, she was going to be an entertainer, but she was being held energetic hostage from the other side and pushed into this life. She's like, I was pushed. I don't know if she's being dramatic, and she says she's not, but this, but anyway, I'm sorry, I've got to laugh because every time I say something, I'm like, oh, what's she saying? But she was pushed into this life, and she was pushed into performance, and she was held captive is what she's saying. I was tricked to come back, and she came back in tied to both her parents, very specifically both of them. With her children, she felt both a sense of release and a sense of loss and a sense of out of control, and she was so fucked up. She acknowledges this. I think all of her kids probably forgive her. She does talk about Liza having the same kind of drug problems that she does, and I don't mean to out anybody. She talks about that. She talks about her son. My God, she didn't like men is what she's saying. She loved her son, but she really didn't like men as a whole. When it came to her son, she had so much aggression with the son because she didn't like the way that the last two children's father treated her, even though I think he probably was trying to do what was right on some level with the kids because she was completely out of control is what she says. She says she would take the drugs and she was drinking all the time. She was drinking out of her purse. She was cutting. She was taking laxatives. She was going up and down with shit like in her body. Can you imagine that? So you're probably not drinking enough water. You're definitely not exercising the way you should be. You're smoking. You're popping pills. You're going up and down, which started with her mother. She's talking about being very young, like young, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and she's always on, I'm on, is what she's saying. She's like a show pony, okay? So she's a little show pony performing, and she loved it. But she's saying when she had her kids, Liza was her protege, her confidant, and she's basically saying Liza was like her husband. Not sexually weird, but speaking. Her and Liza were like, she overshared with her daughter, which probably really messed her daughter up. And Liza is a perfect example of family patterning to her mother. She performed like it. She looks like it. I think Liza's a Pisces. I should have looked that up. Anyway, she did all of those things. And Judy is saying she was overly, like, she used her daughter as an emotional confidant, and that probably wasn't the right thing to do, but she did that. And with her other two kids, she loved them, but she could never she couldn't keep it together. She saw each of these kids as different. She really loved Liza's father, but could not get along with him. And of course, he was a gay man. So of course, she's not going to get along with him. And I know, why did she get pregnant then? Because I guess people will, have sex with whatever they want to have sex with. There's a lot of that goes on. But, and maybe Liza's soul wanted to come through. And so there was some intimacy for a little bit of time, and then he just couldn't be straight. So he had to go back. But with the other kid's father, the two, the daughter and the son, the ones that came after Liza, she really loved him and he betrayed her. Like, she's just like, that was like a cut. She has since, she's funny. She has worked really hard in a spiritual sense to overcome her own, what she knows she did wrong, and she knows she did it wrong, but she won't back down and she won't stop saying that if you crossed her, she was going to come after you. Like, she had this little vengeful side, and I think when she died, she was so shocked that she died. Her body was actually, what I'm seeing, oh, I'm going right to her death now. I'll go back to the kids in a sec, but what I'm seeing is with her body dying, where she married that other gay gentleman at the end of her life, just a companion, I'm sure. But what I'm seeing with her is for several weeks prior to her passing, her body was filling up with fluid. So that's something to do with her kidneys or her renal system or whatever. And I'm feeling like her heart I'm almost feeling like her heart flooded. And when she stepped out of her body, this is really interesting. When she stepped out of her body, she was quite shocked at what she saw and immediately felt a sense of relief, like she shook off all of that. She describes being in her body and not not enjoying being in her body. And she describes abuse in childhood, besides the obvious of being drugged and being pushed out to perform like a marionette all day long. But she describes being like sexually abused, and she describes being a little kid, being around like adult parties where they had like drinks in a cup and cigarettes, and she loved to go around being that. She thought she was a freaking grown-up, okay? She's reminding me a little bit of Drew Barrymore as a kid, but her as a kid. And she would perform and drive herself. This was out of a fear of not being accepted because she felt rejected. This is how her mother got to her. If she didn't do what she was supposed to do, her mother basically emotionally pushed her away, left her over there, pushed her, but then controlled her at the same time. So really, Judy Garland was a victim, and one of the first victims of the trauma bonding kind of things that happen, or Stockholm syndrome, in a very loose way. I mean, it's not like she was held hostage. She could go to the store by herself. She could buy clothes, but her mother would give her love and attention if she was bringing in the money and doing all of this and doing everything. And Judy is specifically saying, stop. She doesn't want to talk about how her father died. She said the way that the father, because I was going to go right into that, but I'm going to go into it anyway, because you can't shut me up. I can't shut you up. Fair is fair. Anyway, the father, when he passed away, I guess they said he died of some whatever, flu or something like this. That's not true. That's actually not true. She was mortified and terrified by the way that her father died. One day he was there, the next day he wasn't there. He really wasn't as sick as they said he was, and suddenly he was gone. She blamed her mother for that, and her mother, the father was used like Judy through the mother's energy, but the mother was used too. It's weird because there's usually one like controller, dictator in the house, however you want to word that, but she's showing me both parents like this. So she's saying the father was actually, she's saying he was consumed. I don't know what that means. I don't know what he had, but she's saying he was consumed. And she's showing me how sad it made her when her father wasn't there, because her father was nice to her consistently. Her mother was not nice to her consistently. Her mother played head games with her and fucked her head up. Those are her words. Her mother played head games and she couldn't understand it. And she was constantly, she's showing me her mother, and she's showing me like she's hitting like tennis balls away. Like somebody's whipping tennis balls at her with a tennis racket and she's hitting them with her hands. That's how it was with her mother. She's showing me her father, and her father was kind to her. Her father, that's the essence of why she married. She's showing me the marriages. If she saw anything like her father, now you would think this in family patterning, like when a woman, she gets a man and he beats her up, and her father was like that, and you're thinking, why would she pick him? Because she's trying to work out the family dynamic. Judy's saying that she picked her husbands based on the kindness that they showed her. Like her father, if there was an ounce of that, she went for that. She's also saying that so many people interfered in her. She was like a pawn on a chessboard. So many people interfered with her and what she should do and who she should be, and all she wanted to do was sing, because that's what she came to do. She just wanted to sing. There's so much sorrow over her son. I don't know what happened between her and her son, but she really feels like she messed him up. She messed all her children up, but she's pointing out her son, and I'm seeing her hold her son. She didn't recognize the depths of her disturbed mindset. I think she was really like psychotically broken at the time she had her son, and she wreaked havoc on his spirit, is what she's saying. She has been doing work on the other side to try to make amends and atone in her mind for what she's done. But then up comes his personality. She also says, oh God, I knew we were going to go there. Okay, so I'm sorry. All right. Mickey Rooney. She's talking about Mickey Rooney. Hated doing those movies. Hated it. Hear me. I hated it. Liked him. Hated that they corralled her into being that person in the movies. Liked him, hated it though. They tried to make him a couple and they tried to do it, and she was just like, I'm not having any part of that. I don't want any part of that. She didn't want any part of that. She had so many dreams and goals and wishes, and then she became just crazy. And this is what she's saying. The voices kept her up a lot at night. I tend to think she was very psychic. I tend to think when she crossed into this life, she came like as an open, literally an open vessel. Your Cancer risings will be really psychic. Your Sagittarius moons will do things to open up their psychic ability that will just like, they'll do LSD and shit and you'll be like, wow, okay, whatever. The Gemini sun has many different personalities, so we don't really know who was stepping in her. She's kind of telling me that she had energy around her step into her and that some of her responses were multi-personal, so there was more than one person inside of her. That's how she's describing how she felt. Sometimes she lost track of time literally, but wasn't sleeping is what she's saying. She really kind of sounds to me like she was like abused quite a bit, and she's not showing me who it, okay, that's kind of gross, but what she's saying, what I'm feeling, I don't know if I should say this. What I'm feeling is her mother was overly intrusive with her sexuality on Judy, like as if the mother's, what's the word when somebody's like so uptight about sex? Uptight. The mother was so uptight, probably why she married a gay man, because she knew he was gay, by the way, even though they had kids. It's really weird. The mother was uptight and the mother was sexually intrusive in Judy's life. That was a problem. That's why she was a cutter. That's what she's showing me. The mother was intrusive in that way. That's kind of gross and kind of sad. She got it all the way around, And then there's people that throw the, you know, the gavel, the judges, the gavel. She's saying that studio head, whichever one it was at the studio, the kind of round face one, I can't even remember. I want to say, was it Louis B. Mayer? But anyway, she's showing me the gavel head, like he was the do all and end all, and everything he said was, everybody jumped, and she was like, fuck him. That was her goal. She was just like, it was unbelievable. And that stupid Wizard of Oz music, she's saying she wanted to create differently. She wanted to do things differently. She really, 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 really loved communication. She wanted to do all forms of communication. She did not finish the book at the end of her life. She was writing a book. She was gathering, but she was real insecure at that time. She didn't care if she died then, but she didn't plan on it. So she didn't overdose, like she didn't take enough. However many pills she took, it was not her intention to die. Let's put it that way. However, as I've said, people, if you take drugs, you know, can have this thing happen. But no, that wasn't her intention. She was in the middle of writing a book and she was finally going to start creating something musically that was hers. She's talking about her children. She doesn't really forgive herself for that. Because she didn't, it's weird. Her head turns like this. It turns like she's this person and then she gets around one of her kids and it just, I'm assuming that's drugs or alcohol or both or all of it, but she just turns into this other person. She said the only time she truly felt peaceful was through communication. So if she could find a strange guy, she's a real free spirit too, and they tried to trap her is what she says. They wanted me. She loved, but hated the fact that she would have all these engagements for months and months on end, but where was her freedom? She kind of was like, if left to her own devices, you could put her on a subway, give her her purse, send her out and not see her for a month. Like she just kind of wandered around everywhere. She wandered here, there, and everywhere. She liked to watch people. She liked to watch things that she thought she was missing out on and learn from them. And she was only truly happy when she was talking to people. That's what brings me to this. She wanted to communicate with these people and kind of see how they lived because she didn't know. She was just Judy Garland and she didn't live a normal life. She really didn't live a normal life. She was totally processed like cheese is what she's saying. I don't know why she's bringing up cheese. I don't know what the hell that has to do with anything. But she's saying she was processed. She was produced. She was whatever. But you know what I can say? I shouldn't even say this, but as a kid, when I watched her in The Wizard of Oz, we got used to her, you know, with her little pigtails and everything. And I think she was like 17 at that time. But I never found her to be like a striking beauty. But when she opened her mouth and sang, I couldn't see the person. I could just see the tone, and I could see the voice, and I could see the power behind that voice. That woman was tremendously powerful, and you could see it with her. She didn't know she had power in this life. She didn't know that she had that kind of power. She didn't know that she could do these things. So she's like pissed at herself because she's saying, okay, what she's saying, she's trying to show me how she felt. And she's showing me those circus mirrors. When you step in front of them, sometimes you're really fat, sometimes you're really thin, sometimes you're really tall. She's showing me that when she morphed into this life, she sees herself like that in a kaleidoscope of mirrors, and she doesn't see who she is. They're never truthful about who you are. So they kept changing the definition of who she was, and it made her fucking crazy. She really couldn't get off the drugs. She tried really hard, but the voices wouldn't stop talking in her head. She sounds a little bit to me like she had people around her talking because they were invested in living with her, and I'll give you an example of that. I think I mentioned it before. I had a client many years ago that was a drug addict guy. I was like 22, he's like 25. Used to come for readings. Did a lot of drugs, I think meth, trying to get sober, trying to get help, trying to stop the voices. One day he walked in and I saw a woman attached to him. Like, meaning he walked in and there was a female in a red dress beside him with long dark hair. And I was like, there's a dead chick beside you. Anyway, he had concern because now he was sleeping with men for money for the drugs and, you know, all of this. This woman that was a prostitute, I found out later, was attached to him, had overdosed, but she didn't want to go into the light. I don't even know if into the light is the right word. She didn't want to cross over. And she was attached to him, and he responded like he was her because she was in his energy field, not in his body, but in his energy field. So there's elements of that can happen. And Judy is kind of showing me that this happened to her as well. So she's saying that when she crossed over, she was able to get some clarity, but wasn't able to actually speak to her children. Her son especially, there's an apology and so much sadness towards the son. All of her kids, but the son in particular. I want to mark the son, the child, the boy child. She has so much sadness. She just didn't trust men. She didn't trust them. She just was like, I don't, you know, she must have been abused by him. She's not really elaborating on that, but that must have been something that happened. But her son, I mean, there's nothing but love. And hopefully when everybody crosses over and they're able to meet her, she wasn't able to fulfill yet her goals in this life because she was shoved into this life, is what she's saying. I was basically held captive in this life from another lifetime and pushed into this one. She is saying that to me. That is something that did happen to her. Very interesting. I am going to come back and do another video, but I got to shut down for now because I'm hyper as hell. I think she's hyper as hell and I'm hyper as hell. Once again, my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com.